coaching and training practice. How's my hair look? Pretty good. This is Saturday Vibe Check. Let's try that again. We are live. That is Saturday Vibe. This is Saturday Vibe Check. And it's been a long time since I've done this, so you're in for a treat. Every Saturday at noon, between noon and 12:30, we will go live, and I'll talk about some books. I'll talk about some spirituality stuff, some mindset stuff, and I'll be answering your questions, comments on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube on the Reset, Transform, Rise pages. Facebook, we're on my personal page instead of Reset, Transform, Rise for the live stuff because we need more followers. So if you are on Facebook, follow Reset, Transform, Rise. It's at Reset, Transform, Rise on Facebook. Get us some more followers, like and subscribe. On Twitch, we are Twitch TV / Reset, Transform, Rise. And on YouTube, we are youtube.com / Reset, Transform, Rise. So it's great to have everybody here. It's a fun day, beautiful outside, really gorgeous outside. What's going on with you? Are you having a good day? Are you experiencing the Saturday scaries? What's going on with you today? Oh, Cece's here. Cece's here. Say hi, Cece. Yeah, Cece's with us. She wants to be part of the action. Okay, we will in a little bit, okay? All right, thank you. Cece's here. Cece in the house. So grab a coffee. Let's have a chat. And remember, you can make comments on YouTube, on our YouTube page, and I will see those there as we are going through the process of the show. I really would like you to participate. And as you pop comments up there, I will show them right here. Yeah, so we have that ability now. It's fun. That's a fun thing. You know me, I like to have interaction with the audience, so I'm not dissuading anybody from sending me live comments. Ask me anything. Ask me anything. Also, this edition of the Saturday Vibe podcast is brought to you by coffee and cookies. Coffee and cookies for breakfast on Saturday. It's the best thing ever. Hi, I'm Scott. If we have not met before, I want to welcome you to, I don't want to call this a show because it's more like a chat. We're going to have a conversation about spirituality, mindset, things that are really affecting us in the world. How is your spirit today? How is your spirit today? Are you feeling like things are vibing the way that you expect to? Are you getting the experience out of life right now that you thought you were going to get as a little kid? Is there room for improvement? Yeah. You're probably saying yes. Be sure to pop up the comments in the chat. But is this world, is this life what you expected it to be? Are things going the way you expected them to go? Are you feeling like this is it? Is this the way this is supposed to be going? Well, if you're like me, you're probably not completely satisfied. We have this internal ticker that Eckhart Tolle calls our eye, our public eye, that is often never satisfied. And experts in psychology, they definitely refer to this as an ego issue. They refer to this as a condition, a life condition that every person deals with in one way or another. But it's a universal thing, right? It's a universal thing. We all see and experience these moments where it's all about what our ego is throwing out there. It's about what we think we need to be happy. And we don't always know that we don't need all that to be happy. We can be happy without all that. We can be happy without all that extra stuff. But it's a choice. It's a choice. And, all the time I have clients and sponsees and other people ask me, how can I be more happy? How can I make this choice to be more happy? And well, first you have to recognize that it is a choice. You have to recognize that you have a choice all the time to be happy or not. And that choice is 100% driven by you. It's not driven by what other people think. It's not driven by other people's opinions. It's not driven by anything but your own beingness. Which leads me to a discussion of a couple people who passed away this week. Catholics around the world are mourning the Pope, who was buried this morning at 2:30 in the morning, I think is when the funeral happened. I did not get up to watch it. I love all that pomp and circumstance and ritual and all that kind of stuff, but 2:30 in the morning, nope. I just went to bed at 10. I'm not going to get up at 2:30 for that. I would get up for the Tour de France. I would. I have done that. I get up for the Tour de France. I get up for the Giro d'Italia. I stayed up for New Year's, but the Pope's funeral, I can watch it later. But the reason I bring up the Pope's funeral is a lot of people are mourning the Pope, and it's bringing a lot of people to talk about what the Pope was about. What was the Pope's core message? And the core message was love. Love everybody. Accept everybody. Now, the Pope still had his moments. He was not big on homosexuality and gay lifestyle in general. He did not push the church that far. He did not say abortion was okay, which a lot of Catholics have opinions on that. And interestingly, one of the things that splits the Catholic Church right now between conservative and more, well, I should say more humanistic or less conservative aspects of the church is this question of how far do they dip into social policy? How far do they dip into telling other people what is right and wrong? And some people are disillusioned with where the church has gone on this. Cookie time. Some people feel that the church should have done more during the Pope's time. I'm not sure on that. honestly, I feel like the way the doctrine of a religion is going to go should not have a direct impact on how people feel about themselves and about their own life. And people personalize these decisions. We all do it. You know, the reality is, like, there's only so much persecution, so much top-down structure, how much there's only so much telling and accepting that one group of people are able to do. Facts. But do you let that affect your internal beingness, is the question. And the Pope made a deal with himself, I would argue, early in his papacy, that he was going to be himself, his authentic version of what he thought he should be as the Pope, in order to serve as many of the parishioners that he had as possible. And so one of the needles that he threaded while doing that was saying that gays and lesbians and transgender people are still children of God, and they should be accepted and welcomed and loved. He didn't go as far as accepting gay marriage, but he didn't say that they should not be blessed. Now, there are some conservative cardinals and some conservative priests who refuse to do the rituals for communion rituals for gays, lesbians, and transgender people. Bisexual, questioning, queer, intersex, etc. Two-spirit. And that's a question that is that's a thing that happens within religion, but that's not spirituality. And the kind of spirituality that the Pope preached was very similar to a pop culture person that we lost in 2016. On the same day that the Pope died was the anniversary of when Prince died. Now, those of you who know me know that I might be just a little bit of a Prince fan. I live in Minneapolis. I live just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Paisley Park. Where I get my haircut is right next to one of the two big Prince murals in downtown Minneapolis. Yes, I do get my haircut. I don't want to. Okay, so those of you who knew me when I was high and tight my whole life, we're not doing that anymore. This is what we're dealing with. Okay, so I don't hear anybody say comb your hair. You know, if you had these curls, you'd be like, comb what? Comb it how? This is what we're doing. And for my friend Patrick, who says that I look like a aging lesbian, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Especially because it comes from you, and you're old too. Leave us a chat message in the chat. Send us a message. You can also send us a message on B-Sky. Want to show you this. So look at the bottom of your screen. I have my little B-Sky up right here. And you can send me a chat message, a chat request in B-Sky. It looks like I have gotten a message from somebody, Franca, 1980, saying howdy back. So if you want to send me a message on B-Sky, I am monitoring the B-Sky right now. That is B-Sky at Real Scott Foval or at Reset Transform Rise. I have them both loaded on my phone here. I can flip between them and check messages and whatever. So if you have a message, send us a message. If you have a question, send us a message. So back to the discussion of finding that happiness. Prince's core message was also love, acceptance, of everybody. Now, Prince, some people know this, not everybody knows this. Prince was a Jehovah's Witness. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, he was a Jehovah's Witness. I was going to say Seventh-day Adventist, but I know that's not right. He's a Jehovah's Witness. Oh, sister is saying hello. Send us a comment in the chat. My sister has joined the chat. Fun times. When you are pursuing your own happiness, love, acceptance is the first thing you're looking for. Prince and the Pope both preached love, acceptance of all people, regardless of what their background was. We're talking messages of the people here, right? Now, the LGBTQIA movement has been doing this for decades now, that it's about love, it's about acceptance, it's not about perfection, but it's also about authenticity. And I have lots of clients who wrestle with their identity. Lots of clients, both on the coaching side and the therapy side, who are wrestling with identity, and they're wrestling with why they have internalized feelings that are not helpful for them in their mental health or in their self-concept. And the reality is it's because they haven't accepted themselves yet. They want acceptance from the world. They want acceptance from their families. They want acceptance from their job. But they haven't always accepted themselves yet. They haven't given themselves the same self-love that they need to do well regardless. And so what that leads to is moments of self-harm, self-hatred, self-doubt, self-questioning, questioning of self. And it leads to pain, flat out pain. And so these clients come in and they ask me, why can't I be nicer to myself? Why can't I love myself? Why don't I love myself? How come I can't find love? Well, when we start picking that message apart, when we start looking at that question in a more serious way, we become attached to this idea of what that love is supposed to look like. That attachment of, I have to have this love from somebody else before I can love myself. That's backwards. That is backwards. We have to love ourselves before we love somebody else. We have to find that love for ourselves. Now, you can find love from somebody else through that other person. You can find love for yourself through that other person because that person validates you. Yeah. What happens when that person is not there anymore? Then where do you get your validation? It's about the self-love journey first. And Prince and the Pope both lived their lives completely authentically, as far as we know. Preached the version of love and happiness and acceptance that they believed in, as far as we know. And one of them died serving other people. The other one died from a drug overdose. So that can go either way, right? You may be harming yourself at the same time you're giving to other people and loving other people. That can happen. So how do we deal with that? Put your questions, your comments in the chat. you can go to Blue Sky and send us a message on there. Send me a message on there. I keep saying us because, okay, so here's the thing. When I did the live show, which, by the way, if you haven't read the backstory on how I got into media and politics in the first place, and how I started doing political media, I posted a piece last week on Sunday after I had accidentally created this podcast on Substack. realscottfoble.substack.com is my handle. Please go like and subscribe. That is where most of my writing is going to be, is on Substack. As we launch the coaching program again this summer, the coaching stuff will be at Reset, Transform, Rise, but the writing for me will be on my Substack. So what happened last week was I launched the podcast, or I launched the live stream, and then I went, after we were done, I posted it to Substack. And I set up podcasting when I set that up. I didn't know it was going to go out right away. I thought there was going to be a trigger button where we could edit and then choose, but no, it just went. So the whole thing from the whoops forward went to the podcast. And all of a sudden, we have the Saturday Vibe Check podcast. Yay! So now we have a podcast. So we're doing this. And that's why we're doing this today, is because we're going to continue this. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I keep saying we. So I keep saying we because when I did, if you read the Substack, when I did the Scott's Big Mouth blog, I created a internet radio show out of it. And it was also called Scott's Big Mouth. And I did it daily from, I think we were on 11 a.m. No, we were on 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So what we would do is I hired a broadcast engineer from, he was my engineer at Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m., which is where the show was intended to go. So the whole point was I was going to do a syndicated show. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. We had a lot of loyal listeners on Live 365. I had some friends, some high school friends' moms that would listen to me. And I had my regular readers from Scott's Big Mouth. So we would host it on the blog and on the blog site, scottsbigmouth.com. And we would host it on Live 365. And we got, we got a couple thousand listeners at a time. It wasn't a big show. It was a little show. And I got Dean to come on. So Dean Field was my audio engineer. And Dean is still working in the business. Everybody should know. Dean is still working. He works for a major radio company down in the Des Moines, Iowa area. He manages several towers down there. And I hired a friend of mine who, at the time, was working as a radio producer for one of the big radio companies in Chicago, which, if you know anything about Chicago, Chicago is a radio mecca. There are some of the most famous radio broadcasts in the world ever have generated from Chicago radio stations. Anyway, Josh was doing radio. He was a radio producer for Don and Roma. So he would go and do the Don and Roma show from 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning to, mid-morning. And then he would come to my house and we would do the show in my living room or in my dining room, and which my partner just loved. Tim was not a fan. Tim wanted to support my dreams, but Tim didn't want to come home every day from the hospital to a radio show in his dining room. But that's what we did. So we did the show from the dining room, and it was a we thing, right? it was not just me talking, it was us having a conversation. That's why it worked. So that's my hope for this show, is we will eventually get it to a place where we are having a conversation through the chat. And I'll be honest, like, I may scale this back and we just do it on Twitch or just on YouTube or just on Facebook. I haven't figured that out yet. Right now we're multi-streaming to test out the platform. So we are on Facebook Live, on my personal Facebook Live. We're on the Reset Transform Rise YouTube page, YouTube at Reset Transform Rise. And we are on Twitch today, which I don't have a banner up for Twitch yet. I should probably create one. We'll just do this right now. Join us, our Twitch stream. At http:// twitch.tv at Reset Transform Rise, all capital letters. So if you're searching it, make sure that you put in capital R and capital T and RISE are all caps. Now maybe I need to change that so that it's not that, but that's what it'll be. So we'll scroll that. So that's the address right there. Twitch TV / Reset Transform Rise. So I'll eventually pick one platform and I'll do it that way. Or we'll do it multi-streaming to a couple platforms, the ones that are most that we get the most traffic from, that I figure out are working the best, then we'll do that. And then the other shows will be posted as lives on the various media platforms, because I can't juggle all this all at once. It's too much. Anyway, so the journey of doing a show, it was a we thing, and we each showed up as our authentic versions of ourselves. I tried to show up as an authentic version of myself. I will say that I was performing a lot at that time for the radio, and it was more performative. And the political stuff that I did, I was trying to compete. I'll be honest. I was trying to compete with local radio. And what I didn't understand was that local radio was going to be shifting. And local talk radio was not going to be what we thought it was going to be. So I actually had callers. I had callers on the show. We had a live line set up so that people could call into the show and we could do interviews over the show. And this was before Zoom existed. This is before any of the live video platforms existed, really. And so, we got a taste of what it would be like to bring in guests. But it was about being accepting of all, love, authenticity, loving ourselves, and doing the best that we could with what we had, right? So that's why I keep saying we, is because we had that show. But I also, even back then, I was writing in Huffington Post, I was writing in Chicago Pride, I was writing on the Scott's Big Mouth blog about love and acceptance and authenticity and being the best version of ourselves and not letting politics dominate our being. But I wasn't living it at that point. I wasn't living it. And that's where I fell down. That is where I fell down, was I did not embrace the authenticity that I was trying to put out there for other people. I had not been living that authenticity myself yet. And I say that as much of as a mea culpa as being just completely transparent with you, that back then I was not the best version of myself. And so one of the things that I really get off on, as you know, is bringing you things that I think are going to help you level up on loving yourself. Things that have helped me. Right now, I'm reading this book, The Joy of Living, Unlocking the Secrets of Science and Happiness by Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche, who is a Buddhist monk. Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche, which Rinpoche is a sacred title because he's a Buddhist monk. He's a master, and that's what Rinpoche is. He went to the University of Wisconsin, Department of Neurology and Neuropsychology. And they asked him to sit and do a set of brain scans to analyze the effect of meditation on his brain in real time as he was doing it. And they took a bunch of brain scans of his brain while he was doing meditation. And then he taught them how to set up a test group of people to learn meditation and start doing meditation to see how the structures of their brains changed. And one of the storylines that comes out of this book is how not only did he learn that neuroscience and Buddhist psychology really have a lot of the same themes, but also that you can change your relationship with your experience in your life by looking at these different aspects of beingness that align with neuropsychology. So you may remember last week I picked up the DSM here, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. And this is what psychologists and therapists and psychiatrists use to diagnose people. I'll just give you a flavor of what it says for PTSD. So the formal definition of post-traumatic stress disorder is not a cut and dried thing. Instead, it's a list of symptoms or experiences. So the following criteria apply to adults, adolescents, and children older than 6 years. For children 6 years and younger, see corresponding criteria below. So for adults, exposure or exposure to or actual threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violence in one or more of the following ways: directly experiencing the traumatic event, witnessing in person the events as they occurred to others, learning that the traumatic event occurred to a close family member or close friend. In cases of actual or threatened death of a family member or friend, the events must have been violent or accidental. Experiencing repeated or extreme exposure to aversive details of the traumatic event, e.g., first responders collecting human remains, police officers repeatedly exposed to details of child abuse, etc. Second criteria, presence of one or more of the following intrusion symptoms associated with the traumatic events, beginning after the traumatic events occurred. 1, recurrent, involuntary, and intrusive distressing memories of the traumatic event. 2, recurrent distressing dreams in which the content and or affect of the dream are related to traumatic events. 3, dissociative reactions, e.g. flashbacks, in which the individual feels or acts as if the traumatic event were recurring. Such reactions may occur on a continuum, with the most extreme expression being a complete loss of awareness of the present surroundings. 4, intense or prolonged psychological distress at exposure to or internal cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of traumatic events. And 5, marked psychological reactions to internal or external cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the traumatic event. And it goes on and on. Like, it's a whole list of criteria, right? And I don't read that to trigger you. I read that to you so you know what therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists are looking for when they are looking for PTSD in a person. Now, how that links to this is we can make that PTSD, those PTSD symptoms, our identity, which is an attachment, which is covered in this book. Last week, we talked about ignorance aversion, and attachment as the three primary factors that people hold on to that Yongey Minshur Rinpoche talks about in this book. He talks about those three aspects. And one of the things that he says that really got my attention was the following. Attachment, in many ways, is comparable to addiction, a compulsive dependency on external objects or experiences to manufacture an illusion of wholeness. Unfortunately, like other addictions, attachment becomes more intense over time. Whatever satisfaction we might experience when we attain something or someone we desire doesn't last. Whatever or whoever made us happy today, this month, or this year is bound to change. Change is the only constant of relative reality. The Buddha compared attachment to drinking salt water from an ocean. The more we drink, the thirstier we get. Likewise, when our mind is conditioned by attachment, however much we have, we never really experience commitment. We lose the ability to distinguish between the bare experience of happiness and whatever objects temporarily make us happy. As a result, we not only become dependent on the object, but we also reinforce the neuronal patterns that condition us to rely on an external source to give us happiness. That idea that we get attached, we get addicted to attachment, 100% true. And the attachment to the past and to past events is something that people with PTSD can't help. And so if you are someone who identified with what I just talked about, go find a therapist. Go to Psychology Today and look for a trauma therapist. Go to your insurer's website. Get a referral for a trauma therapist. Full stop. You don't go to a coach. You don't go to a life coach for mental health stuff. A good life coach, if they encounter somebody who's experiencing a severe mental health issue or even a mild one, they will refer that person to therapy as well. Have you gone to therapy? You're telling me all this stuff that you want to change about your life. Have you gone to a therapist? A good coach will refer. They won't try to tackle a mental health issue with life coaching because the two are separate. I did life coaching for the first few years while I was still in grad school. The number one thing I learned about my clients in life coaching work was that some of them needed some mental health treatment. And so I found myself referring some people to therapists instead of working with me because I was not qualified to work with them at that time. Then when I became a counselor, I discovered, oh, a lot more people dealing with this than I thought. A lot more people dealing with this issue of being addicted to attachment as part of their addiction to their substances, their chosen substances, than I possibly could have imagined. I think I was naive at how many people were holding on to attachment. I was naive about my own attachments. When I first became a coach, when I first became a counselor, I tried to make people into what I wanted them to be. And it didn't work. It didn't work. Anytime I tried to do that, oftentimes the client called me out on it. You're trying to make me into what you think I should be instead of what I want to be. And they weren't wrong. So I put a banner up on my door, right in front of my screen, on the side of my office, in like 3 spots in my office, and said that I can't change somebody to make them be what I want them to be. I can't make them do something that they don't want to do, and they have to make the choice on what they want to be and what they want to do. And that has been kind of a guiding principle for me ever since. So what do you want for yourself? This is Saturday Vibe Check. Ask me anything. What do you want from this experience, the authentic experience called life? And if you're telling me it's an external thing that you must have in order to be happy, I'm going to suggest to you that you might have an attachment. You might have an attachment to a different state of being. You might have an attachment to material things. You might have an attachment to an identity, a power position, a social position. You might be addicted to power. You might be addicted to control. You might need the control issues. Everybody has their thing. Cookie time. Everybody has their thing. The way Eckhart Tolle breaks this down is into two columns. Basically, one called form identity, which is attachment to external stuff, external criteria, external assets, external positions, and external emotions, anger, hatred, discrimination, othering. Those are all forms of externalized emotion. And he breaks it down into that form identity side, which is all the fancy cars, all the nice clothes, all the big houses, all the great job titles, all of the accolades, all of the need for validation externally, all of that. Versus internalized. And that's essence identity, where you're aligned with presence, you're aligned with your spirit, and you're aligned with your higher power, and you're aligned with universal source energy. Your chakras are lined up. Now, some of you watching this or listening to this are gonna say that's kind of woo-woo. It is. Yeah, you're right. It is woo-woo. It is woo-woo, and it is real. One of the things that science, and this book talks about it, that science is learning is that it's much closer to spirituality in how happiness comes about than we really have known before. We are discovering that people who meditate generally are happier. Their neurochemistry changes. Their neurostructures change. Their neuroelasticity increases. Their ability to tolerate difficult situations, which is another form of resilience, stress tolerance increases. And they're happier for themselves, not for somebody else, being authentic. So what do you think about this? Do you internalize the idea that you can be happy? Do you know that you can be happy? Are you aware that happiness is out there for you? Do you know that happiness is for you? Are you living it? Are you living this idea that happiness is for you? Are you living for your centeredness and your connectedness with spirit? Have you begun to separate yourself and your idea of what success in life is about from material things? Now, I'm not saying having material things is bad. I'm saying identity doesn't have to be wrapped up around the material things. So we can have nice things, but not incorporate them into our identity. Give you an example. I drive a pretty nice car. Pretty nice. It is a 2014. I don't drive a new one. I can't stomach the depreciation and the payments. That's not on a therapist salary, not on a grad student turning into a therapist. No, not even possible. But I also, I didn't go out looking for a luxury vehicle when I started looking for a new vehicle. I looked for something that was going to be functional, that was going to do what I needed to do and what my goals were going to be. And I took that vehicle with the dog and we went truck camping in January out in the desert, and it was great. Would not have been able to do that in a Mercedes-Benz coupe. You can't really take your Mercedes-Benz coupe onto a desert campground. And you can't really sleep in it that way. They look nice. The G-Wagon is nice too. And you can truck camp in it if you can figure out how to fold all the seats down and make all the fancy stuff work. I don't have $100,000 for a G-Wagon or $200,000, whatever they are now. So that wasn't part of the thing for me. It was about the function and the authenticity of, this is what I drive for the function of what it gives to my life. Lifestyle was the most important thing. And that's what this is about. It's about, okay, your authenticity in how, not only how you present yourself to the rest of the world, but what you align your values with. And so are you aligning your values with giving yourself self-love, giving yourself that authenticity, giving yourself that presence to be aware of your happiness or unhappiness and what the roots of those are? And for instance, with folks with post-traumatic stress disorder, they have these flashbacks. I should say we have these flashbacks because I've been diagnosed with PTSD and don't always know where they're coming from. They're having these dreams, they're having these experiences, and they don't know where the dreams are coming from. They don't know where the attachment to the identity of the dreams are coming from, because they're involuntary, right? The flashbacks that come with someone who truly has PTSD, they are involuntary flashbacks. They don't have control over. What they do have control over is their reactions to them. And the golden key for healing from PTSD is called reprocessing. And reprocessing is basically doing structured therapy where you relive, quote unquote, you reprocess the emotions that go behind the flashbacks or behind the difficult, invasive memories. And you reduce the emotional reactivity to that stimuli until it's so small that it's like, that happened. And there are many ways to get to it. There's eye movement desensitization therapy, EMDR, rapid eye movement. There is ART, accelerated resolution therapy. There is prolonged exposure therapy, which I would argue is one of the hardest because you literally have to expose yourself to the things. There's cognitive processing therapy. Each one of these are different ways of getting to the root of the issue, and that is reprocessing for the purposes of healing. One of the other ways is right here. You can meditate your way into no longer having PTSD. You literally rewire your brain when you have one of these episodes, you go right into meditation and you meditate that PTSD away. And it works if you work it. It's like anything else in recovery from addiction, recovery from mental health problems. It works if you work it. If you do the work to heal, you will heal. But it's on you. And full disclosure, it's not on the therapist. It's not on the therapist to fix you. It's on you to fix you with the therapist's help. The therapist is a tool. The coach is a tool. The coach is there to give you the motivation, help you with the mindset, help you set goals. That's what a coach does, and then hold you accountable. A therapist does all the things that a coach does, and then they also throw in the mental health and addiction piece, where we look at what is the underlying mental health, what is the underlying addiction, and why do those things exist. So, fun fact. When I first became a therapist or a counselor, I thought it was going to be just like coaching. I did. It's very different. It's very different because the behaviors that are showing up in the treatment space are very different. As a therapist now, it's even more different because we're dealing with real life problems that are beyond things that a coach, an unlicensed, somebody who's not a mental health clinician can actually deal with. And so there's been an evolution on my side about not identifying with this idea of being a coach, being a therapist, being my job. I did enough being my job in my old life, as a lot of you know. Now it's about, okay, what is the best tool to help that person be the most happy, authentic version of themselves? What is the best tool to help somebody live that life of happiness that we keep talking about? Because it's a choice. Okay, we're coming up on an hour, so I'm going to commit to an hour, and then we move on. But on this Saturday, on this Vibe Check Saturday, what are you doing to live the authentic life? To show up with love and acceptance for yourself while you're doing that? What are you doing in self-care routines to bring that love and acceptance to yourself? Want to propose something to you. So you can go this direction, which is a great one. I'm a big believer in this book. There's also a new book. Let me see if I have it sitting right here. It might still be packed away from the move. Yeah, it is. The coach Mel Robbins has put out a book called The Let Them Theory. And self-help books are a really great way to dance into this space of newness around fixing this stuff for yourself. Those are a couple ways. Another is you can actually lean into the psychological side and learn a self-help modality for yourself. This is one called Help Yourself to Happiness Through Rational Self-Counseling. It's by Maxie C. Maltzby, Jr., MD. This is an old book. This book came out in, I want to say 1975. And Maltzby was an adherent of both Slack and Ellis and Ludwig's modalities. And so Ellis was the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy, if any of you have heard of CBT. But one of the things that is a hallmark of this book is that it teaches people the meanings, the ABCs of emotions and emotional self-teaching as if you're learning from others. So you're literally teaching yourself how to emote and how to be more responsive, not reactive, through a set of behaviors of reprogramming. Now, this is what self-help looked like in the 70s. There are modern versions of this, but whatever works for you as a gateway. But then at some point, you might need a coach. And so I'll put in a pitch this summer. I'm going to relaunch the Reset, Transform, Rise Level 1, RTR Level 1 coaching program. It's a group coaching program for anyone to come in and do a 1-year build of your goals and transform your experience, your life experience, from the day you start it to 1 year. It's a 10-week program that if you follow the 10-week program, which includes live sessions with me, we have live Zoom sessions built into it. If you do that 10-week program, at the end of those 10 weeks, you have a plan that you have already begun to execute, along with it, accountability of a Facebook group where you are engaged in your own transformation. What do you want out of life? What kind of relationships do you want out of life? What kind of job do you want out of life? What are your passions? What are the things that make you hot for the day? What makes you get up and do these things? What kind of money do you want to make? What kind of spirituality do you want to have? Do you want a family? Do you want to travel? It's not just external stuff, it's also internal stuff. For spirituality, what does that mean for you? If you need to reconnect with your spirit and with your soul, what do we need to do to get you into presence to help you do that? And so these things I've integrated into, so it started out originally as a recovery program, and I realized, you know what, it isn't really just a recovery program. It is a coaching program for someone to transform every aspect of their lives through a routine. You set up a routine, you set up goals, you set up SMART goals, you set up monthly goals, and at the end, you have 3 to 5 big things that you've accomplished to transform your life. That's what Reset, Transform, Rise Level 1 is. And that will be available very soon for pre-registration. And it will be something that I think anybody can afford. It won't be cheap, but it will be something that I think anybody can afford if you compare it to the amount of alcohol you're using, the amount of money you're putting into therapy. And I'm not saying don't do therapy. I'm saying you need to do both. But if I were to create a program that would be one-on-one coaching, I would only be able to reach 3 to 5 people at a time because of my therapy practice. And so that's not really realistic. And my goal with this outreach is to bring it to as many people as possible and have it run 24/7. Anybody around the world can access it, and everybody can enjoy the tools of success. And through Reset, Transform, Rise, I'm teaching you how to hit the reset button on your life, how to set up a program of transformation, and then rise to a new place. And there are levels upon levels. So RTR Level 1 will be the basics. RTR Level 2 will be advanced goal setting. So it'll be for the 2-year folks. And then RTR Level 3 will be for people who've gone through the 1 year and the 2 year and are looking to level up and on in beyond. And eventually I'll do a VIP version of it. But we got to start with the basics. We got to help people and find some results first, right? Before we do the basics, or before we go into that. So it is now, I believe, 1 o'clock. It's 1:21. And so I'm going to say, have a great day. Blessings to you. Be the most authentic version of yourself today. And go out there and really live your life. be more, be better. We can all do our work on ourselves to help us be more loving, more authentic in how we present out in the world. If you stuck with me for all this today, I thank you very much for really just having an impact on you. Have a great Saturday. We will see you next week. This podcast is brought to you by Reset, Transform, Rise, Life Transformation and Coaching Services. Copyright 2025, Reset, Transform, Rise, and the Fogle Group, LLC. This broadcast is for entertainment purposes only. It is not meant to be a replacement for therapy. If you are in crisis, please dial 911 and connect yourself with a mental health provider today. If you'd like to learn more about Reset, Transform, Rise, you can visit us on Facebook at Reset, Transform, Rise and resettransformrise.com.